It's Kelsi here for WrestlingNews.co, and I'm joined by AEW's own Brandon Cutler. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. And you know, a lot of people don't realize you have such a nice Cinderella story. You left wrestling for a little while, but now you're back. The Bucks gave you an opportunity, and you're really getting the chance to shine on national TV in AEW. What's that transition been like?
It's been wild. I mean, it went from like I was a personal trainer when I left wrestling, and then with getting back into it, the Bucks gave me that opportunity, like you said, and it just changed my whole life with like my wife and my kids. I can provide like a great life for them now. So that's the most like endearing thing that I think about constantly. And then this was always been my dream to be a wrestler. So then to be given like such a great opportunity and to show what I feel like I'm capable of, like that's been awesome as well.
It's really been cool to see you on TV. How weird is that? You're on national TV now. I know we're just a few weeks in, but how is the feeling backstage?
A lot of us keep saying, like people ask us, like, how's it feel like you're famous now, you're on TV? And a lot of us are like, I don't feel like we're famous yet. Like, it's not hitting. Like, you know, we all still feel like we're still, like, it's another show for us of like, oh yeah, you know, we'll do what we do. And it's not hitting us yet that like, oh man, yeah, you are on national TV. There's millions or, you know, hundreds of thousands watching you. I don't think it's really hitting because it is so early still for a lot of us. So maybe in like another 6 months, we'll all start like changing a little more.
Yeah, it's still early, but I can't wait to see how it grows and develops. And you mentioned earlier, you know, you took a hiatus. But before your hiatus, people might not realize you wrestled as a part of a tag team, the Cutler Bros, and you're actually a part of one of my favorite matches ever in PWG. You were the Cutler Brothers versus the Young Bucks versus El Generico and Paul London.
Yeah.
Tell me about that match. That match is so nuts.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite matches back in that era of the Cutler Brothers era. That was wild. It was initially supposed to be the Cutler Brothers versus the Young Bucks, just in a normal tag team in the first ever Guerrilla Warfare tag team match. And then London and Generico were just so over at that time, too. They're like, we got to put these guys in with you. And I'm so happy it did because I love Paul London. That guy's great. Ever since I got to wrestle him a couple times there, we've just like kind of bonded over that. And that match was insane, like you said. We did a lot of stuff that was like innovative at that time that like I'll go back and watch it nowadays and like that match holds up. It's still pretty good compared to like, you know, whatever year that was, like 2011-ish to like now 2019. Yeah.
The pops, the New Year's pops that you guys threw, the tables, all kinds of cool weapons in that match.
Yeah.
And it got started right away, so crazy. You guys just started attacking each other.
Yeah.
There's actually a big PWG influence, it feels like, in AEW with Rick Knox and Excalibur. Talk about the feel. Are you comfortable? It feels like old school times.
Yeah, I guess I could say that as we've all mentioned sometimes we're like, just feels like it's just another PWG show that we're kind of doing. It's like it's just on a larger scale. We got like just more, we got a stage we can use now and production and things and different weapons we can use. So, but we've mentioned that where I guess that's why it still feels like it's a show is because we have so many people that we're familiar with. It doesn't feel like, oh yeah, this is the big leagues. Like, you know, I'm here alone. I don't know anyone else. It's like, no, this is our crew. Like we have like a lot of the guys that we're all familiar with on the West Coast. And then a lot of the East Coast guys got a lot that they're familiar with from the East Coast. So everyone just feels like, oh, we've done a million shows with each other. Just feels like it's another show that we're all just combined now on.
It's a cool feeling as a viewer, too, because I'm a longtime fan of PWG, so it has that, you know, familiar feel to it, and I love that.
Yeah, I think that on a large scale is what we're essentially doing, because the PWG at the time when I was in it, it was this cool, like niche, like, you know, rock band that you found out about, and then like, you're like, oh, this is the cool thing to do. That's what I feel like AEW is now on a larger scale of like, if you're a longtime wrestling fan or a WWE fan and you find out about AEW, it has that feel now of like, oh, look at these guys. They're doing something like a little different, a little cool now. So I think that's kind of what it translates as now.
You know, let's talk about that bigger scale. Like, I know that there's going to be a lot of pressure moving forward, keeping the weekly TV going, and also you guys are working on being the elite. How do you balance all that in going forward?
It's nuts. We leave town like Tuesday mornings usually, and it's a 2-day sprint because then we'll get back home Thursday morning. And the entire time, me, Matt, and Nick are always saying like, all right, get ready to not sleep for 2 days. Like that's constantly how we feel, and we're just filming things all the time. Like we'll finish a production meeting with the whole crew, and then we'll immediately go into filming like the room service stuff usually. And then throughout the day of the show, I'm filming BTE bits with whoever I can. During the show, I'm filming like live backstage footage of it. And then sometimes even after the show, when we're all done and tired, we're still filming bits to where we're like the last ones leaving the building at like midnight. And we usually have a flight at like 5 or 6 a.m. So we'll be like, oh, and it's a half-hour drive to the airport. Might as well not even sleep. Let's just stay up and we'll chat with the boys some more, and then we'll just go to the airport, get home to our families just completely exhausted, and then be dads. Yeah.
I'm so impressed that you guys have kept BTE going, because it's such a cool behind-the-scenes thing, and I think everyone would miss it if it was gone. And speaking of BTE, what's your favorite episode? There's been so many good ones.
I could probably answer that pretty easily, because my favorite episode up until this point was last year's Halloween episode, because that was so much fun filming on the Jericho Cruise. We just had a great time. Everybody just kept breaking during all those scenes. So it was like, man, is this like, if this is what you guys do for BTE, this is awesome. So I had a great feeling for that. And then this year's Halloween, like, kind of took the cake again, where there was so much with it. There's that Toy Story bit we did, Hangman's whole little animated nightmare, and then the Bucks doing the Street Fighter type thing. So like the Halloween episodes are my favorite ones so far. I mean, and then each new one we do, we're so proud of a lot of the jokes that we come up with, that I feel like we're kind of like Seinfeld, how he would always answer of like, what's your favorite episode you did? And he'd be like, they're all of them, because like, you know, they're all like my each little brainchild. So I feel like they're all competing for second place after the Halloween episodes.
I'm partial to Halloween myself. It's my favorite holiday, so those episodes are really great. Another thing that's great, the work of your wife, Denise. A lot of people might not know, she's super talented, and she designs a lot of gear for the wrestlers in AEW, including the Young Bucks and SCU. Yeah. Just talk about some of her gear designs. I know the Bucks gear is a big part of their persona. Just what has she done to work on their gear?
Yeah, so as far as the Bucks go, she's done really recently in the last like 2 years everything they've been wearing. Like at Double or Nothing, they were the Elvis, so she did that. She'd been sitting on that design for a while too. Think about like 9 months that we'd been like, oh, next time they go to Vegas, we should do like an Elvis thing. So she's done that. I'm trying to think of the other ones, but
Street Fighter one was great.
Yeah, that's true. The one that was also in that Halloween episode. Yeah, she did the Street Fighter one for them for Fighter Fest, because Kenny was going to be Akuma, but his didn't get done in time. But yeah, she's done that for them. Then they're just their normal gear, the shredded tassel look and stuff. She's done SCU. She does their gear and their entrance jackets. She does my gear. She's making me an entrance jacket right now. She just made Evil Uno on Dark Order. She made his jacket that he wears. She does Cody's entrance jackets on a lot of the stuff. That big blue, like royal-looking coat that he wore, the one he's about to wear for Full Gear on this weekend. Yeah, she's constantly working. It's kind of, we tag out. Like, I'll leave, like I said, for those 2 days, and I'm just sprinting working. Then when I get home, it's kind of like she's 5 days working on whatever the next gear is for that week's show and stuff. Yeah, so we're literally just tagging out.
I think she worked on the little Nightmare Family insignia that was based on the Star Trek.
That's right. Yeah, she did. Yeah, she did Cody's Star Trek one, where it had the Nightmare Family that was the Star Trek emblem, but it was like kind of turned upside down.
Love that.
Yeah, she designed that and then had it on his thing, and then he kind of took that design and also had it like on his belt and stuff and used it on other things. Yeah.
And the SCU like Rocky tributes, really been cool.
Yeah, that's true. At All In, how they wore like Rocky and Apollo styled gear. And then just at the Dynamite show where they won the tag titles, they wanted to do another callback to Rocky with the gold and black gear. So they both wore gold and black, and that's when they won the tag titles. Just at this point, it's kind of like endless stuff that she's done, to the point where like there'll be fan art and stuff, and we'll see it and we're like, oh, they used the gear that you just like recently made, or like we'll see toys that Matt and Nick get, and they're like, oh man, they're going with that gear that you made. So that's another like high we get, is just even though it's like Matt and Nick's stuff, it's like, oh, but look, it's that gear that you made. Yeah.
Exactly. I love looking at the different gear. It's almost like art, you know, another form of art, just like wrestling is. And speaking of wrestling, I know you still got a lot to accomplish on the roster, but like, what are your personal goals in AEW going forward, you know, in this coming up soon?
Yeah. Obviously win a match first. But I really, the first like small goal I got is I want to kind of just show the audience like what I can do physically and like in a match, to like be given an opportunity, like how a lot of our guys have like been given, is just like go out there and just do your thing, man. Play your music the way you want to, kind of a thing. To just get that of like no leash on you, go out there and do whatever you want. That's kind of like what I'm looking forward to, is when I get that call of like, hey dude, we booked you in a match. You got however long, do what you want, and I'll be like, oh, okay, now I can really kind of like show what I'm capable of.
And I hope they also continue to highlight your story, because it's such a great story, you know, taking the break, coming in, and such a great, like I said, Cinderella underdog story. Wishing you continued success. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, guys.